Steve Greer. I pastor in Pekin, Illinois, First Church of God here. I have married, have two sons, both in ministry. One pastors in Lawrence, Kansas. One's an associate in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. And I've been in ministry about 40 years. And it was what I saw in Ron that really, and I don't want Ron to hear me today say that it's been just a growth. It's not, he was a bad person to a good person. But just the growth that really, it inspired me to, I need someone to help me to grow in my life.
With that, Ron, brother, would you dive in here and share a little bit about what God has been doing in you? What do you think this change that your pastor is noticing is with you? And what are we talking about and working on right now?
Pastor Steve tells you about how much I've improved, but then he turns around and tells you how ornery I am within a church. So
we're just dealing with reality here.
Yeah, I might have improved, but I'm not quite there yet. One of the things I wanted to do was just give you a little context. My wife and I both were raised in the Catholic Church, and probably 25 years ago, we just felt like, and nothing against the Catholic Church at all, it's just that we felt like we weren't being fed any longer. And to be honest, she made the move before I did. For about a year, she went on, and my son and I continued to go to the Catholic Church. And my son would say to me, the Express Church, right? Because you get in, you do your thing, you get out, you move on. And I remember one day talking to my wife, and I was like, okay, if you're going to stay at this church, we have to decide to do this together. Because at the end of the day, it's not very healthy for me to be going one place and her to be going another. So I think really my journey kind of started about 25 years ago. We joined Pekin First Church of God. So now it's Pekin, Todd, not Peoria. So now we know. But anyway, my journey started then, and slowly but surely, I started to develop what I was thinking was a relationship with Jesus. And I'll never forget the first time my wife had me at the church. I'm sitting there, and people are standing up in the middle of church, holding their arms in the air, and I'm like, what is going on here? As a matter of fact, when we left that day, I turned to her and I said, is this a cult? Because I was like, at a Catholic church, you don't stand up unless you're told to stand up or what you're supposed to do. The funny part is I'm now that guy that does that. But anyway, I'm on this journey, and I think I'm developing this relationship with Jesus. And for several years, I was giving freely of my time, my talent, my treasure. I own businesses, so I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I was freely giving of those gifts that I had. I was on the board of Mid-American Christian University, involved in a church, involved in Teen Challenge, involved at Illinois State University, involved in Baby Fold, right? Everything was involved. And I was just getting to the point where I felt like I hit a ceiling. I felt like I'm not really developing any relationship here. I'm literally just kind of going through I don't want to say the motions, but I was just going through the motions is what I felt like. Nothing was fulfilling me. Nothing was drawing me closer. And it's just interesting how God works, because literally at about the time I'm trying to figure out what to do, Todd gives a presentation at MacU. And I had known Todd before that. We'd spent a little time chatting, but not really had engaged a lot. And after he got back, I started talking to him and, started telling him how what he said moved me, and started telling him where I was at. And the next thing you know, here we are, right? And I remember saying to Todd, he asked me, are you ready for this journey? And I'm like, well, I have no idea if I'm ready for this journey, because I don't know where we're going. But here's what I do know. I've got two choices. I either have to figure out how to move forward, or I'm going to be stuck in neutral, because on my own, I'm not going any further. This is as far as I can go. So anyway, I was blessed to have that conversation with him. And I don't even know if I can put into words the differences it makes. And I'm surprised that Pastor Steve sees it, because I feel it internally, but I don't know that I show it externally, right? It's not like I am on purpose going, hey, look at me, I'm doing something different. But it's more of I'll say with me, it's been way more of a mind shift or a thought process, right? That then translates into what Pastor Steve sees. And one of the things I remember telling Todd that I always struggled with, and I'll probably say I still struggle with this, is people of faith were always saying to me, oh, God talks to me. I hear God speaks to me all the time. I'm always hearing God speak to me. And I'm like, I don't hear no one talking to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? So in my mind, I'm thinking, what, like you're praying and he starts just chatting with you? And I'm like, okay, I'm not hearing that at all. And then what started to happen was, one of the things I understood was that in order for God to talk to me, I had to shut up. And it was like, whoa, what? I would pray, but I would do all the talking through the prayer, right? So you're like, oh, I guess I'm not giving him a chance to get a word in edgewise. So it's one of the things that really has, I guess, to me, I feel it internally that I'm starting to see things differently. I'm starting to think about things differently. Todd still very often corrects me in some incorrect words that I might use along the way, that I tell him, I said, Todd, if I'd have started this before I was 65 years old, I might have caught on quicker, but it's taken a while to undo a lot of years of habits. So anyway, what I've started to understand is that, okay, you've got, in the silence, there's opportunity. And I never understood that. I'll be honest, I've owned many businesses, many of them at multiple times, and I've literally spent my whole life just running. I mean, get up at 7 a.m. or whatever time you get up and fill the day with as much as you can possibly fill it with. Don't allow any downtime. I was to the point where even when I had appointments, I always told people my appointments were ish, because I'm literally never going to be on time, as Pastor Steve can attest to. I'm the last one at church every single time. And the reason is because I'm trying to cram one more thing in, right? If I've got 1 minute, if I've got 2 minutes, let me cram this last thing in. And then I'm going to hope that every light's a green light when I'm headed to wherever my appointment's at. And now I've started to slow down. I've started to realize, okay, there's a lot of value in that slowing down. Where Todd and I are at right now, and we're just finishing up basically studying the 5 gifts from God. So the eyes, which is part of the mind, and serving God or seeing God with my eyes, right? And then then Todd opens up my brain to other ways, right? I'm thinking eyes and ears. How else am I supposed to see God? How else is he going to talk to me? And then Todd's like, imagination. I'm like, oh, never thought about that. That's okay. And and God is a visual communicator, right? And then your memory, seeing God in your memory. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's another way I had never thought of before. And then we talked about eyes of the heart, right? And this is something I have really struggled with. And I tell Todd, I still struggle with it. I mean, I know I want to do it, but it's communicating and listening and being present with him with my heart and my soul, and not just my mind. I've always been such a mind-driven person, right? Everything's like, get this done, get this project done, move on. There's no time to wait around for the heart and soul. I got my head. And I always convinced myself that God gave me a brain, and the reason he gave me a brain was to make all these decisions on my own. So by gosh, get to make it on your own. So that was a big one for me. And I know I want to get there. I'm working to get there. but I will still say it's a process. It's an action. And then the last one was spiritual foresight, wisdom, what is yet to come. And that's the one we're just now starting to finish up. But I guess what I'm going to say is it's never been for me with Todd. It's not been this aha moment, right? I haven't had this one aha moment where, oh my gosh, clarity is there now. It's all in place. It all just lined up. Everything he said is, I got it. What it has been is like this baby steps. You walk, and then you walk, and then you walk. And then eventually I turn around and go, oh, wow, I'm further down the road than I was before, but I really almost didn't realize it because it was just little baby steps at a time. And, understanding the importance of silence, boy, that's been a challenge. I've been in sales my whole life. So in sales, you don't want to leave too much downtime. You want to fill up it all with everything you can. But I'll also say, but in that silence that I'm now experiencing, I'm starting to understand the value of that, right? I'm starting to understand the importance of that. I always thought it was just wasted time. I'm just wasting my time. Why am I not out getting something done? And now I'm starting to understand that there's a lot of value that comes in that silence and that peace and that understanding. And then really, I think it's interesting the way it works is Pastor Steve now is leading a class where we're studying Emotionally Healthy Spirituality by Peter Scazzaro. And it's tying right in with all this, right? So at the same time, Todd is kind of getting me in that direction. Now, Pastor Steve starts teaching this class and starts talking about stuff that's literally tying right in with Sabbath. I always thought Sabbath, keep the Sabbath day holy. All right, I'm going to go to church, and then by gosh, I'm back to work because I got a mountain of work to get done. And now I'm starting to read, no, that's supposed to be not working for a reason. And I always figured not working meant you were being lazy, and that wasn't what I was going to be. But now I'm understanding the value of that recharging of the batteries and that opportunity just to be quiet, and maybe understanding that God has talked to me many times, but I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening. And I wasn't even paying attention, right? If he was showing me something or if he was leading me in a direction, I might have just been like, not even paying attention to it. And he's like knocking me over the head going, hey, what do you mean I haven't been talking to you? How many times have I led you or shown you? You just weren't paying attention. So, I feel very blessed. I do know that I still feel like I'm in the infancy stage of this. But I also know that there's a lot of joy in the journey, not just the destination, right? And that's what I'm trying to take in. And as Pastor Todd will tell you, him and I generally talk for about an hour and a half, and probably at least half of that is off-topic stuff. But what I'll tell you, the off-topic stuff, I don't know for him, but for me, it's important because it might be something on my mind. It might be something I'm thinking about. It might be some way I have of seeing something. And then he has this way of, okay, well, let's talk about what you just said, or let's talk about what you're thinking. So very blessed to have gotten to know him and Pastor Steve and just really enjoying being on this journey.